What is up, guys? I hope you're all doing well. And today, we're going to be talking about the highly anticipated sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and the second part of the Spider-Verse trilogy, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
All stations, stop Spider-Man!
You? Me?
Now, we've already talked about our thoughts on Into the Spider-Verse. Like it's amazing. One more needs to be said about it, and our expectations and hopes for this film in our most anticipated films of 2023 video. So go check that out. But the short version, like this film had a lot to live up to, since Into the Spider-Verse was just such a massive surprise. And as far as this new one goes, while I don't think that it surpasses the first one, it comes really damn close. I thought this movie absolutely lived up to the expectations and hype and was beyond incredible. The animation is fantastic. The voice acting from everybody involved is on point. The characters are fully realized with great arcs, and I really appreciate how the movie simultaneously upped the action, the amount of new characters and amount of multiversal madness, while also giving us like a really great character driven story with a lot of emotional depth. Because the film does have like a ton of Easter eggs, details, and fan service, but it doesn't like overly rely on fan service or use it as a crutch like a lot of movies and shows do now. The note that this movie goes out on, oh man, I cannot wait for the third movie.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with everything you're saying. This movie is, I agree with you. It's a little less than the first, but it is, so close. It is filled with great references, great Easter eggs, but that's just like icing on the cake, because this movie has great emotional depth, great characters. This movie has great arcs for Gwen Stacy, and it's kind of Peter B. Parker, which I wasn't really expecting, but it has kind of small little minor art there, which I really appreciated. And then it has just great characters all around. We had great new characters like Spider-Man India and Spider-Punk, which are both awesome characters, and I'm so happy we're gonna be with them a lot more and across this or beyond the Spider-Verse, which I'm now eagerly excited for, and probably my most anticipated movie of next year.
Yeah,
if hopefully it doesn't get delayed, fingers crossed. It's not, but yeah, I completely agree with you, man. This is a movie that I think has kind of like redefined what animation is, and it's now the new staple for animation. And if you are a big animation fan, you should check this out. If you're a fan of good movies, you should check this out, because it's a good movie.
Oh yeah.
And it is now the precedent for animation and what people have the power to do with animation, because there are so many different art styles in this movie, so many different ways of telling stories through animation, and they use thousands of them in this one movie, and it's great. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The pacing's great. It really is a fantastic movie, and that just shows you how good this trilogy is so far, because we both agree the first one's still better. That's how great this trilogy is, and Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out, it has a chance to be the best trilogy ever made.
Oh yeah.
In terms of superhero terms.
Shamik Moore is once again great as Miles Morales. Haley Steinfeld is excellent as always as Gwen Stacy, and I really love the chemistry between these characters. And like I mentioned before, the arcs that they both go through in this movie with them really trying to find themselves and trying to navigate the relationships, not only with each other, but also with the other Spider people, and with their families and stuff like that. Daniel Kaluuya was awesome as Spider-Punk. I also really enjoyed Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099. I thought he did a great job too. I like his character journey as well. We learn more about his backstory, and we kind of see like where he's coming from with his motivation. Even if like you don't agree with his methods, he goes on an interesting journey and becomes kind of an antagonist to Miles. And speaking of antagonists, I thought that Spot, voiced by Jason Schwartzman, was a really great villain. Because what's cool about him is that at first he's portrayed at first he's portrayed as like kind of a joke, and a villain of the week as Miles refers to him, because like the first scene we see him Spot, it's him like it's him trying to figure out his new powers, sees him trying and failing to rob an ATM. But as film, but as film goes on, as film goes on, like Spot becomes a like genuinely terrifying and really formidable enemy with a really cool design, a really cool set of abilities, and I really look forward to seeing where they take this character in the next film.
Yeah, Spot, agreed. Spot was the highlight for me. His first scene with him stealing the ATM machine was hilarious.
Yeah,
because he was hilarious, and Jason Schwartzman did a fantastic job voicing him. I tried to figure out the whole movie who was voicing him because his voice sounds so familiar. So when I figured out it was him, it was a welcome surprise. But I completely agree with you. His Spot, it's just he's such a great villain to have someone start out as, his motivation is he wants to prove everybody wrong. That's like his I guess his id motivation would be that, and then his exterior motivation was Miles, hurt him, blah 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 blah. But interiorly, he wants to prove to everybody he's a real deal. And so it was really cool to watch him, grow in power throughout the movie. And now we're going to get a huge, hopefully a huge payoff with him and Beyond the Spider-Verse, because they set up a really interesting villain here at the end of this movie, which that's sort of like a big one of the only reasons I don't like the movie as much as the first one. This movie has an abrupt ending.
Oh yeah, that it's super abrupt. I knew that this film, but it would have an ending that like directly leads into like the next film. Because at first, when the sequels were announced, it was announced as Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 and 2, but then they changed it to be Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond Spider-Verse. And so I knew it would like lead into it, but I did not expect it to be like such like a massive abrupt like cliffhanger. I remember when we saw this one person behind us, I was like, what? Like that's it,
Yeah, give him my money back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the cliffhanger was so abrupt. It just feels like sometimes a movie ends and it doesn't feel complete sometimes, and that was one of those examples when the cliffhanger was so hard that the movie didn't feel complete. Because it's not. I mean, we have 2 more hours left to go in another movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited for, but it's just one of those cliffhangers that rubs you the wrong way if you're not in the mood for, or if you're not expecting it. I was expecting it. We were expecting it. We're a little different.
Yeah.
The casual audience, I'm sure, was like, what the hell? I mean, you just that's a pretty huge cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could rub casual audiences the wrong way, but it'll be fixed when the Part 3 comes out, or the end of the trilogy comes out.
The animation is excellent, like as we said before. And what's so cool about the animation, and what's so cool about this movie is that it uses such a variety of different like animation and art styles and different like color palettes for each character and each universe. And nothing feels like it doesn't belong in a scene, and nothing feels like out of place. Like Gwen's universe, for instance, like has this really cool aesthetic. It's almost like a watercolor painting with lots of like blues, purples, pinks, whites, and the colors like change, flow like and move around as the scenes in her universe go on. There's a scene at the beginning where Gwen, the Spider-Woman, is fighting a version of the Vulture, and Vulture looks like he's from like a Renaissance era like Da Vinci sketch, like which I thought was a really cool contrast. Like Spider-Punk looks like he's made from like newspaper like collage clippings. Spectacular Spider-Man from the cartoon of the same name. It was really cool to see. It was really cool to see him make an appearance. Is made with like traditional 2D animation. We even see a Lego universe at one point, which was awesome. and it's kind of funny since Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the guys behind this film also did the Lego movie. So that makes sense. Like there are just so many different unique animation styles that are used to match all the different characters and different universes we see. Like in this film, just like the first one, it's just like so unique and so creative. And I think they're absolutely right that this film as well as the previous has become and will become kind of like the standard for animation going forward, and really like a prime example of the amazing things that could be that could be done with it. And like I would honestly and like I would and like I would honestly love to see like more animated comic book films, and more films like this in general, because like I feel like comic books and comic book storylines like the very like fantastical elements of them they really lend themselves well to animation, because animation could do so many things because you can do so many things with animation that they really can't do with live action. And I feel like animation like in general doesn't get enough respect like as an art form, because 'cause a lot of people like to write it off as just being for kids, or they inaccurately describe it as a genre and not a medium. But animation is just such an incredible art form that can be used in a variety of different ways, a variety of different genres and tones, and like and people work so hard on it, and those people deserve more recognition. And just like the first film, this film has like phenomenal writing, emotional beats, humor, and character building to go along with the incredible animation.
Yeah, every word you're saying is correct. This film had so many different styles of animation. Every character was animated differently. Every time the camera like a shot changed, the animation style was different in some way. I really noticed it in the last scene with Gwen and her dad. Every time the camera cut, the entire color palette would switch.
Yeah.
Or the entire way of animation. It'd be sometimes it'd be animated like vertical. It would switch to horizontal, like the backdrops of the scene. It was just so awesome to see every scene have a different vibe, a different an animation style. It was awesome to see, and I know that's why this movie took so long to make, because they made it with such passion and such care, and they wanted it to be just special. Like, I don't remember the first film being animated that way. I remember it being like a flat animation style the entire time, which was great, but I don't remember it having thousands of different animation styles throughout the movie. This one was just filled with different animation styles, and it was a pleasant surprise. And it was just like I said earlier at the beginning of the review, this is the staple of animation from now on. This is the precedent. This is what you can do with animation. I'm happy you called it a medium and not a genre. That is truly what it is. It is an art form that has yet to be tapped to its fullest potential, and Across the Spider-Verse is the best example of animation. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mentioned the Spectacular Spider-Man earlier. Like, that's just one of many really awesome like Easter eggs and references. When we get to the Lego universe, we see Peter at the Daily Bugle, and we get old audio clips from J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Like, it's always awesome to hear him. Seeing Donald Glover as an alternate version of the Prowler, like, that was awesome. That was awesome as well. There's even the point where we get to see the super old school like Spider-Man cartoon from the 60s, and I thought that was really funny how that Spider-Man is like trying to approach Miles, but like that animation style is like so slow and old school that he can't reach him. It's like oh, like I've got like a
one arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good touches.
Yeah.
And we saw the OG Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, we saw Toby, we saw Andrew. Yeah, yeah.
Great references. Like, Donald Glover was funny to me because he's live action. Everybody,
just live action
part in the movie.
Yeah. And speaking of live action, the only cameo that like I didn't really care for was seeing a Miss Chen from the Venom movies. Like, to me that just felt like kind of unnecessary, and a very clear sign that Sony is still desperately trying to make the Venom universe happen, and I don't know, it didn't ruin the movie though. It was just kind of odd, and didn't really leave much of an impact.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I didn't like that cameo either, just because of the fact I was like, yeah, I don't care. Get this off my face. Like, I don't care for the Venom movies, and I don't care for the third one that's coming out, and so I just like, I didn't care. Well, I didn't prefer it because, like I said, I'm just not a fan of those movies. So they're kind of like they're forcing it to me, which I.
Yeah.
But it's okay. When you make a movie like this, some cameos are gonna hit and some aren't.
Yeah.
Sure, someone really enjoyed Mrs. Chin cameo. It just wasn't me.
Yeah.
But other than that, the cameos, the references, they were fantastic. That whole scene of them in the Spider Society was like 30 minutes of just great cameos. But it was also like it was fan service, but it didn't overstay its welcome. It didn't last very long. They filled it with information like exposition. Like you needed to have that scene in order for the movie to make sense. And then we led into the climax with all of those Spider-Man that we talked about trying to get and to stop Miles Morales, which was a great scene, great conflict. Had the best emotional moment in the scene in the movie of Miles saying like, "I'm gonna do my own thing." That was very good emotional. I really liked that scene a lot.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
The emotional beats between Gwen and Miles was fantastic, and her arc with her dad was touching and very powerful in the movie, especially seeing where it ended up based on where we got at the beginning of the movie. They kind of didn't touch on it for 2 hours, and then we got resolution, which was just it was great because like enough time had passed where I kind of forgot about it because I was so glued to Miles' story, and then we got back to Gwen, and I was like, oh my god, I remember all the stuff from the beginning of the movie, and it was really hit home the way they paid it off, and it was just such a powerful ending, such a powerful scene with Gwen and her dad. But yeah, all the emotional beats with the Gwen and Miles was fantastic, especially her helping him as the anomaly, or kind of help figure out going down that path. Just really powerful stuff. It was great emotional moments.
Let's see what else. Let's see what else is there. Let's see what else is there that we should mention. There's like so much to go through.
I think we hit the main stuff though. That like we just said, this film, it's fantastic. It's wonderful to go see it. It's a staple of animation. I don't want to talk about everything because I guess people, if they've watched it, they've already seen the movie.
Yeah.
So I guess we could have we've hit on mostly everything though. We go through every Easter egg, we'll be here for 2 hours.
I know, yeah.
It's just it's a
yeah, that'll be exhausting. Yeah.
Final verdicts, I guess.
Yeah,
what do you give the film? Yeah.
I thought this film was amazing. It didn't like surpass the first one for me, but I think it definitely like lives up to it. I mean, that first film, it was just like so fresh and so cool, like, and had like a bit more emotion there. That still to this day is like extremely memorable and like still hits hard. Like and I also think that the first film has the better soundtrack, although this one's really good too. So it doesn't surpass the first film, but I think it definitely lives up to it. And this film just blew me away in pretty much every aspect, and I really can't think of anything to like complain about. Because like some things I mentioned earlier, like the Venom thing and the soundtrack, those are like extremely minor, I mean, this film was just absolutely spectacular. I am stoked for the third one. I'm stoked for the third one. Go see it. 5 out of 5.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. Except I'm a little lower, but I'm right there in the same. Like this film is unbelievable. It's fantastic. You should definitely see it. Precedent of animation from now on. This is the best animated film I've seen since the first one. I gave the first one a 5 out of 5. 10 stars, or a 10 out of 10. This first one was fantastic, but this one, agreed, it's a little weaker, and I think a lot to do with that is just because it doesn't feel complete to me. This ending was so abrupt that it kind of took away from the experience just a tad for me because of the way it ended, with the way that the movie didn't feel complete. And there's not a period on the end of this movie; it's a comma.
Yeah,
and it's to be continued. It's not period. We'll see you next year. It's you got to wait a year to figure out how this movie's supposed to. That rubs me the wrong way a little bit. It's different from typical cliffhangers. This is more of like a Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 type cliffhanger than it is like an Infinity War type cliffhanger. They're two different types of cliffhangers. This is one where the movie's not complete yet. You got to wait a year. And the sound, like you said, the soundtrack is a little weaker, but I mean, it's hard to compete with Juice World and Lil Wayne on the first one had the best soundtrack ever. But this one is, pale in comparison, and the emotional moments are not as strong as the first one, just because of. But I think we could get there with the second part of the movie. I think we can easily get there. It's just this movie's missing 2 hours of it, so that's why I feel that way. But I'm still it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. Part one of this story. It is unbelievable, great animation. I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars out of 5, so 9 out of 10. Definitely go see it. One of the best movies of this year, easily.
Yeah, totally. What is going on, guys? I hope you're all doing well. Me and Austin are back with another review, this time of the newest installment in the DCEU, and one of the last before everything gets rebooted, The Flash.
Are you ready?
Ready. Let's go.
So this movie sees the titular character Barry Allen, aka The Flash, played by Ezra Miller, using his speed to go back in time and save his mother, but that ends up significantly altering the world around him and the space-time continuum in very detrimental ways. So he teams up with his younger self, also played by Miller, Supergirl, played by Sasha Calle, and an alternate version of Batman, played by Michael Keaton, to try and fix the timeline and save the future. The lead up to this film was quite the roller coaster. Directors and writers kept dropping out until Andy Muschietti, director of It Chapter 1 and 2, both films I really enjoyed, and Christina Hodson, writer of Bumblebee and Birds of Prey, landed the gig. And the film had a lot of production issues and it kept getting delayed multiple times. COVID happened, of course, so that had an impact. The shake-up and restructuring of DC's film division had a big impact on this film. And the big thing that this film had riding against it was the offset behavior of its lead actor Ezra Miller over the past year. Now, I've already talked about this many times on my Instagram, and many other people have talked about it as well. So I'm not going to dwell too much on it. But the short story, though, Ezra has done some things, has been accused of some other things, and generally does not seem like a very mentally stable person. And it got so bad that during the film's press tour and promotional cycle, Ezra was practically a ghost, and I believe only showed up to one press event, which is really crazy. And all that I'll say is that I sincerely hope that they get the help they severely need, and somehow turn their life around. Also, Ezra is non-binary, and I am a staunch supporter of gay, trans, and non-binary people. So I will be using their preferred pronouns in this review, because even though I think they're an asshole, that doesn't mean I'm going to be one too. And another thing that I'll say is that I am pretty pissed off about the very selective standards of Warner Brothers, and I feel like this entire debacle really goes to show just how hypocritical and despicable of an industry Hollywood is.
They gave Ray Fisher the boot for calling out Joss Whedon's abusive behavior on the set of Justice League. They sacked Hartley Sawyer from the Flash TV show over 10-year-old tweets, while simultaneously turning a blind eye to their actors who flagrantly engage in physical violence. Amber Heard has a pattern of physically abusing her spouses, legally blind. Joss Whedon has a list of abuse allegations longer and wider than his forehead, legally blind. And then you have this doofus going all Chris Breezy on any woman within a 5-mile radius, and you sit there in silence, enabling this behavior. Incredible.
But putting all of that aside, and ending this long tangent, and just focusing on and getting back to the movie itself, how was it? I thought it was pretty good. Was it amazing? No. Warner Brothers, David Zaslav, James Gunn, and even Tom Cruise, of all people, were hyping this movie up, and they were hyping this thing up, and saying that it's one of the best superhero movies ever, and it's definitely not. Especially since we're coming fresh off of Across the Spider-Verse, which, at least in my opinion, actually is in the conversation of greatest of all time. But it's not a bad film either, in my opinion. It has a ton of problems, and we'll get to them. But I thought this film was a fun time, and definitely one of the better DC films that we've gotten in recent years. I'll take this over Black Adam, Wonder Woman 1984, and Shazam 2 any day of the week. So let's start with the positives, because there are a lot of things to like about this movie, in my opinion. And I'll let you go first, since I've already talked way too much.
Yeah. So starting off with some positives, like you said, the film is really funny.
Yeah,
it is hilarious. In fact, and I was laughing out loud, verbally laughing at times that I haven't laughed like that in a theater in years. where I'm like audibly laughing and people around me are audibly laughing because the joke lands
Yeah.
in this movie. Not all of them land, and when they don't land, it's very awkward.
Mhm.
But when they do land, they're very funny. Ezra Miller, like you said, they I think are wonderful in this movie.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller is fantastic in this movie. I wonder if that's why they kept them in the film instead of, because there was rumors this movie was going to get scrapped months ago, half a year ago, and they decided, no, we're going to put this thing out. And I bet that's part of the reason why Ezra Miller's amazing performance in this movie. They play two people the whole time, and the dynamic between those two characters is fantastic. More positives: Michael Keaton is awesome in the movie. His Batman is freaking great. Ben Affleck is the coolest part of the movie. He's freaking great. His Batman is still my favorite. Rest in peace. His Batman. Not because he died. That's not a spoiler, but his rest in peace because the universe is over. Speaking on Sasha Cali, is that how you pronounce her name? Sasha Cali, I think so. Played a phenomenal Supergirl. One other amazing part of the movie. This movie is filled with a lot of characters and a lot of good action and character dynamics between those 5 or 6 characters that I listed. Especially Ezra Miller's mother, Flash's mother, who I'm not sure who the actress is. She was wonderful in this movie as well. His father, who we saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League as well, he made a return. Great in this movie as well. This movie's full of good characters, and that's about where my positives end. Amazing action, amazing characters, funny. After that, that's where my positives end. We will discuss some negatives shortly.
Things get a bit messy from there, but yeah, I think that the performances are definitely the film's strongest aspect for the most part. Ezra Miller is really good in the movie, and Ezra's take on this character has really come a long way. Because in Joss Whedon's Justice League, Barry was like the obnoxious comic relief, and just like Joss Whedon's like writing and really forced humor, you really let the character down in that film, in my opinion, and so many of the jokes, it just did not land at all.
Like brunch. What is brunch? You wait in line for an hour for.
Oh, shut up, Joss Whedon!
But in Zack Snyder's Justice League, the real Justice League, Barry was a lot better because he still made jokes, but the comedy was like significantly toned down, and not only that, but the Flash like actually got to be like a major player like in the action. And the scene towards the end where he uses the Speed Force for the first time was like a genuinely awesome, like badass moment. And I think was a much better interpretation of the character than what we got in the theatrical version of the film. And in this film, I think that the character is like fully realized and is easily like Ezra's best performance as Barry to date. They do great in both the humorous moments and the more emotional dramatic scenes. That final scene between Barry and his mom, where Barry has to set things back the way they were and make it to where she does die, was really well done and really emotional. So much so that my dad almost cried. I like how this film was still very much a Flash movie, and the Flash's story, despite like all the different cameos and the fact that the marketing was like heavily hyping up Batman and Supergirl. The Flash doesn't get overshadowed in this movie in my opinion. Michael Keaton, again, like I said before, is awesome. Keaton is my favorite Batman. He's a great actor, and in my opinion, he's easily the best part of this movie. It was so awesome to see him like back in that suit, like as his character again, like he never ever left the role. And I'm actually pretty excited that Andy Muschietti is now going to direct the Batman Brave and the Bold movie, because I think with this film he proves that he really understands the character of Batman and came through with some very creative and engaging action set pieces, despite the visual effects in this film being pretty ass. but we'll get into that later. I have no idea if we're ever gonna see more of Supergirl, considering the whole DC reboot thing. But I love that Sasha Cali's performance as her, and what we got from her. And I thought she was really badass. And Ben Affleck, sadly, this is probably the last time we're gonna see him as his character. But as usual, Affleck was great as Batman and Bruce Wayne. in his brief appearance. Like the only weak link acting wise, in my opinion, was Michael Shannon as General Zod. Now he's a great actor, and I loved his portrayal of Zod in Man of Steel. But here, like at least to me, it felt like he was he was just kind of like sleepwalking through this movie, and like was clearly just there for the paycheck. And I honestly can't really blame him because the movie doesn't really give him anything to do other than, you know, be a bad guy. I thought that was kind of disappointing. But apart from that, like, I really enjoyed the acting and the character arcs in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of forgot General Zod was in the movie until you just said that. Because it's been a couple weeks since I've seen the movie. So I'm just kind of like sitting here rolling back the movie through my brain to get everything sorted out so I can and on Monday here so I can talk about it for the review. And I completely forgot General Zod was in the movie. Like you said, because that sucks because Michael Shannon is probably one of the best actors in the movie.
Yeah,
and he just doesn't get a lot to do. He's playing brain dead Zod from Man of Steel, but without the connection to Henry Cavill. So it's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I wasn't the biggest fan of the third act of this movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that includes as soon as Zod showed up, which we'll talk about later in the negatives portion. But that was wasn't the biggest fan of that.
Yeah, the third act is where like a lot of my negatives story wise show up. I also really enjoyed the musical score from Benjamin Wallfish. He also did the music for Chapter 1 and 2. Wonder Woman's cameo I thought was really good and a lot better and a lot less forced than the Shazam 2 cameo earlier this year. Like I especially love that scene where she has where she has the lasso of truth on Affleck and like he just starts like spilling out like all of his deepest insecurities and I thought that was pretty funny. I thought the film had
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I thought the film had a solid story that wrapped up and came together in a satisfying way, and I thought the screenplay like for the most part was solid and clever with the emotional through line and the various references to a DC's past mostly worked for me, but some of them to me at least it felt a bit forced and unnecessary and I'll get more to that later, and I especially like that one scene where Keaton is explaining the multiverse to a young Barry and present Barry using a spaghetti and using the strands to demonstrate how these different timelines and different universes are separate but always intersecting. Now let's get into our negatives, and I'll let you go first on that one as well.
Yeah, so sure. The negatives for me are really starting to pile up about third act of the movie. So originally, when I knew going into this movie that the CGI was awful. I've seen it everywhere. Yeah, that's all Twitter was talking about for a couple days leading up to this movie's release, is that the CGI is terrible. And normally I'm not one to pick on CGI because I don't really care. Like if it looks bad, whatever. But this movie was like egregiously bad to the point where it was pulling me out of the movie.
Yeah. It was like this distracting. Like normally like shaky CGI like doesn't really bother me too much. But like in this instance, it was like so again like so egregious and so bad, and especially since there's a lot of visual effects in the movie, it was so bad that I kept getting pulled out of the experience.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was awful. It looked like people were made out of Play-Doh at some point. Then later came out, Andy Muschietti is defending the CGI, and everyone's like, "Dude, don't do that. It looks bad."
The fuck are you talking about? That shit stinks.
There's some scenes that they could have just reworked the scenes entirely and done it in a different, like a creative way to show it rather than just CGIing people. But this movie really started to make me mad. Like 15 minutes from the end, when they started. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but they started CGIing people who are alive.
I know. Yeah.
That person is alive. You could film them. I know they would say yes.
I know. Yeah.
A lot of money that specific person would say yes and film that scene.
Yeah.
And they CGI'd them in the movie, which is infuriating.
I know.
It just makes me mad about the future of filmmaking, that they're gonna CGI people that are alive.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah.
It's stupid. It's annoying. They CGI'd people from the dead.
Yeah.
Which that's been a controversy for years. I don't really have an opinion on it. Some people are very passionate about it. I don't really have an opinion on it. It's up to the family, I guess.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's distasteful, and it feels weird that the greatest superhero movie of all time is had a cameo fest for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just that's my first negative. CGI was terrible. It looked awful. Those cameos, by the way, the CGI on those cameos was terrible.
Yeah. Like it looked like PS2. Like it looked like the PS2. And like if I'm being charitable, trying to be nice, I'll say that it looks like PS3. And like and the comparison that I have in my notes here is that it makes Green Lantern look like Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, CGI was awful. The cameo fest, I was just not a fan of. It didn't fit into the story for me. The cameos had no effect on the plot. It didn't shape our character, make Ezra Miller's character grow at all, change their way of thinking, nothing like that. At least like in a movie like No Way Home.
Yeah.
You know, the Toby and Andrew have an effect on Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They help him become a better Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. You've seen the movie. Everyone has. Same thing like Multiverse of Madness. Those cameos are in the plot.
Yeah.
It makes sense for those characters to show up. This doesn't. This just feels like crammed in nostalgia fest for people that like those cameos weren't for our age group.
Yeah. Like No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, I mean, they had cameos. They had like the nostalgia and fan service. But it actually served a purpose, and like it furthered the story. This film with that whole montage at the end, with like the various universes like collapsing within each other. It just felt like DC was like, hey, you remember this? You remember this? You remember this?
Member? You remember?
That's what it felt like, and it was just really annoying, especially when we get to the whole thing about them being CGI, and not only the actors that are alive and very likely would say yes to being in this movie, like the Nick Cage cameo in particular, really rubbed me the wrong way, for two main reasons. One, because like the CGI was so bad and so obviously fake that I couldn't enjoy that cameo I couldn't enjoy that cameo as much as I wanted to, because I'm a huge Nick Cage fan. Yeah, but two, for some reason, Andy Muschietti decided to completely spoil it before the movie came out. I'm not sure if he saw that, but he said in an interview, like I believe like a couple weeks before the movie came out, that Nick Cage's Superman is gonna be in this movie, and I'm like, really? You're gonna spoil some that would likely get a huge reaction, or I don't know, but like. Just the whole thing is annoying. The CGI of like Christopher Reeve really rubbed me the wrong way, because it gave me the same feeling that like that Grand Moff Tarkin in a Rogue One gave me. Because I mean they very easily could have gotten like they could have gotten like a double or like some makeup or something, but yeah, a lot of the cameos, except for one at the end, which we'll get into, didn't feel needed, and even felt kind of wrong,
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. My last negative, so CGI, the cameos, was not a fan of. The last negative for me was the story element, and it's one that just I feel like they did in reshoots because it doesn't make any sense to me. The end of the movie, Barry learns that he can't change anything because the past is supposed to play out for a reason. If not, reality will crumble. But then he changes something again.
Yeah,
and it's even more minor than the original change that he made. And so then the Flash comes back to the reality, and everything's screwed up again. The cameo you're talking about there at the end, another stinger, another fun cameo, which I enjoyed that cameo, by the way.
Yeah.
Maybe because that person was real.
Yeah.
And they shot him with a camera.
I know, yeah.
Wasn't a CGI person walking towards us. I enjoyed that. Yeah, that whole ending scene just put a distaste in my mouth, because it's like you just learned that you can't change the past because things are supposed to play out. Because Ben Affleck says tragedies define you; they make us who we are. You're not supposed to change them. But then Ezra Miller changed them twice.
I know.
After learning that you're not supposed to change them. I was just like, whatever. Like, it just made no sense to me. I feel like that scene felt like it was added in reshoots. Because I know they did a lot of reshoots for this movie back when Ben Affleck, when when Henry Cavill shot his scene for this movie, back when he shot the scene for Black Adam. He was originally supposed to be in this movie. Threw him out the window once again.
Yeah.
So sad, but
I know.
My final negative for the movie.
Yeah, it was really bizarre how inconsistent the rules of time travel seem to be in this film. Like, and that's my issue with time travel films in general, because sometimes there are times when like it's done well. Like back the Back to the Future, which in my opinion is still like the gold standard for time travel movies. But there are times where it feels like the writers don't quite know what to do as far as like the rules of time travel, because I mean time travel is fiction, so I mean you could technically make up whatever rules you want, and they differ across different films, and with how much you can change the past, how much you can change the future. But like there are times where it feels like it feels like the writers don't quite know what they want to do. So as a result, there ends up being these inconsistencies, and yeah, that's kind of bothersome. But that's kind of bothersome.
Yeah, man, I feel you. Like I said, this movie is I think we can both agree it's fun. It's fine, but it has some glaring issues. And I think the biggest issue with this movie is it was overhyped way too much.
I know, yeah.
I don't know what James Gunn, Tom Cruise, Stephen King, I don't know what they were all thinking. This movie is not, it's not even the best superhero movie to come out in the last 3 weeks.
I know, yeah.
Much less the best one of all time. Best the last 2 months actually. Guardians 3 and Across the Spider-Verse are both better.
I know, yeah.
So I don't know what this movie was thinking with the marketing campaign they ran, and they ran a really aggressive marketing campaign. I mean, it was on every TV show, every ad on TikTok, every commercial on TV. It was everywhere, and it has flopped tremendously, which is crazy.
It's not doing. It's not doing very well.
Yeah, well, I don't. It seems this movie had a really low cinema score, I believe B.
Oh yeah,
I saw that. Flash, which is just god awful. That's worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, which was not good either. So I don't.
I really want to know how much Tom Cruise got paid to say that this is one of the best films he's ever seen. Because I'm like, because like when I saw that, I was like, really, like I was like, really this. Like, I'll go so far as to say that the majority of Tom Cruise's filmography, just blows this movie out the water. And then I mean, like Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible. I mean, I know for a fact that Tom Cruise has both been in and seen better movies than this one. Like come on.
Yeah, I know. The only thing I think Tom Cruise was thinking during saying that quote about this movie's unbelievable, you should go see it, one of the best movies ever made, blah blah blah, is because Tom Cruise supports theaters.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
supports the industry. So he doesn't want this movie, because this movie flopping is bad for the industry.
Yeah.
I guess bad for superhero movies, definitely. The industry, I don't know. Mission Impossible 7 is still going to do good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. So I think he's just an avid fan of the industry. That's why I love him so much. He supports movies. Like he went to see Barbie.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Something else that I saw today. I'm not sure if you saw it. Was a picture. Was a picture of it was a picture of a Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig seeing Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
I hope it's a big like everyone starts to do that.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to talk about is the cameo at the end. So basically, Barry goes back to his timeline. His father is proven innocent of the murder of his mother, and everything seems like it's back to normal until Bruce Wayne shows up and it's not Ben Affleck, not even Michael Keaton, but George Clooney. As soon as I saw that, like I was dying, and I was dying. Like I thought that was awesome and hilarious. Barry realizes, Barry realizes, they messed up the timeline again. And I thought that was a really great, really funny note for the film to go out on. And it does make me wonder whether this is going to be like a one-off. This is going to be like a one-off joke, or if this is like somehow setting up Batman Brave and the Bold, and like they're gonna have like Clooney's Batman, Clooney's Batman, training Robin, Damian Wayne. And to be honest, like I would actually be cool with that. Batman and Robin like is not a good movie, but that wasn't Clooney's fault in my opinion. Like he was trying his best with the material he was given, and I think it would be cool to see him get a bit of redemption, the same way that No Way Home made Electro way better than he was in the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
True. Yeah, that cameo at the end did make me laugh.
Yeah,
it was very funny. Like I said, this movie had a lot of moments that made me laugh out loud. That one was one of them. I was like, bro, this guy really like.
Yeah, Clooney.
Batman and Robin. Batman. Yeah. And then about 3 hours later, the other endings got leaked for the movie. I don't know if you saw them. How the movie was supposed to end.
Oh.
Before reshoots. And it was supposed to be, Keaton Batman, Sasha Calle Supergirl, Henry Cavill Superman, all there at the courthouse. So that was supposed to be the original ending, but then none of that's happening because of the new reboot. So they brought in George Clooney as a joke, and that's it.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't go any farther than that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It was a funny joke.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah.
I laughed.
Yeah.
I guess some people are probably mad about it because they wanted to see James Gunn's new universe. That I never thought that would happen. This seems a little too early for that.
Yeah.
But it was a good joke. I laughed.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. Overall, while this is absolutely not one of the best superhero movies of all time, and not even and like you said, not even the best one of this year so far. Guardians, Spider-Verse. But apart from that, I still thought this was like a pretty enjoyable film. And I liked it more than I thought I would. More than I thought I would. The performances were mostly spot on. The action was fun. The emotional beats were solid. And I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. Like it's not amazing, but definitely not bad either. I truly have no idea where things are gonna go from here as far as the character of the Flash goes. And the other stuff in this movie, and I think that announcing the new DC management and the new reboot and before releasing the last remnants of the original DCEU was a bad idea, and definitely caused a lot of confusion among audiences, especially casual audiences. We've got Aquaman 2 coming soon, and I'm not quite sure where Blue Beetle is going to fit within the universe. So, the future of DC is very weird and very uncertain right now. Then again, DC has been just an inconsistent mess ever since Man of Steel. But we'll see what happens. And I am cautiously optimistic about the future of DC's quality and output under James Gunn's leadership, given his track record.
Yeah, I am extremely optimistic about James Gunn's future. Just need to get to these next 2 movies, and then smooth sailing from then on out. It's all James Gunn. We'll see what he's capable of. I'm sure he's going to do amazing things.
Yeah.
Starting off with Superman, my favorite. You're wearing the shirt. So, very excited. But yeah, I'm right there with you. This movie is fun, but it's infuriating at some points. It's a movie that was overly hyped, didn't feel completed. You can tell that it was at some points made by committee. It felt like a lot of different people had their hands on the wheel, which I'm always not a fan of. But I mean, it's fun, and it's better than a couple of superhero movies we've had so far this year. I mean, we've already had 5. At this point, you're getting so many of these movies, like expectations are rising from audiences. and people are tired of the same old shit. And Flash is the same old shit. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
same formula. Yeah.
Same formula. And it's fun. It's funny. It's a good time, but it's not anything new.
Yeah.
And audiences for superhero movies right now need a full course meal.
Mhm.
And right now we just keep getting little snacks here and
Yeah.
there. Here and there. Except Guardians 3, that was a full course meal, and look at it.
Yeah.
Just made a lot of money.
And
Across
Spider-Verse. And Spider-Verse, yeah.
Amazing too. Just made more money at the Flash this weekend.
Yeah.
If you go, if superhero movies, superhero fatigue does not exist. If you make good movies, people will go see it.
Agreed, yeah.
That's it. It's these mediocre movies people are tired of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This movie would have came out in 2017, it would have made $800 million, $900 million.
Yeah.
Because that was the standard back. We're way past that.
Mhm.
Mediocre super movies cannot make money anymore. Just will not happen.
That's right.
Especially when DC is like a tainted brand, and it's already tainted. So you have that going against you as well for a movie like this. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm about a 6 out of 10, so a 3 out of 5. I think, like, reflecting on it for the past couple weeks, since we haven't done this reviews a couple of weeks late. I got to reflect on it a little more. And I think I'm about a 3 out of 5. It's a fun movie, a fun watch, but it's nothing that sticks around with you. After the theater leaves, you'll say, that was fun. That's it. That's all. That's as much as you'll think about it after that. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right.